Shalom, all praise, honor, and glory goes to Yahweh, Bahasham Yahweh Shai, Bahasham Harakah Kadash, and double honors to the apostles and elders of Great Millstone, and Shalom to all the hopeful, and sincere brothers, the hopeful elect brothers and faithful brothers that's doing the work of the Lord. Now, this lesson is going to be based on the info that just came up a couple of days ago on RFK Jr., which he's a part of the president's cabinet. You know, he's one of the top guys that's under the president, which is Donald Trump, and the vice president. So he's talking about wearables, which is going to lead into the MOTB. Now let me get into it and get scriptures. It says wearables take center stage in RFK Jr.'s personal health push. And he's the son of Robert F. Kennedy. Now, it says health secretary. So he's a health secretary, which right now he's sick. So he's trying to use that sickness to push for health, for people to buy things to put on their body like an Apple Watch to monitor their health and to track their heart rate and all that. But this is going to lead into them actually putting or switching the wearable, something that you put on you like a ring or a watch, and switching it with something that you actually put inside of you, which is the MOTB. The RFID CHIP, which they have one now that they put in your forehead, which is the Neuralink, and they're running tests on people with that, and I guess it's going successful, but somewhat still in the early stage. It says Health Secretary Robert F. Kennedy Jr. envisions Americans becoming healthier by using wearable health devices that track heart rates, blood sugar, and other vitals. Says offering real-time feedback Yes, I like it. It says offering real-time feedback on how food affects their bodies, which the people could just do that themselves. They could just, go to the doctor, or they could diet and exercise and keep tabs on what goes in their bodies, because everybody is different. Not two people on the earth are the same. So, one diet might work for you, or another diet might work for someone else. And also, everyone's sickness is different. And everyone's treatment of that one same sickness might be, a little bit different. But yeah, people could just monitor their health themselves and go on a diet and take herbs, but they don't want to do that. It says why it matters. It's a buzzy component of a healthcare agenda that emphasizes self-empowerment and self-responsibility over relying on clinicians. So they want every facet of life. They want to be, they want to have digitized. because let's say, for example, like a therapist, you don't have to go to an actual therapist in person anymore. You could just do it on a video call. But some doctors and ethicists say the push could backfire if the devices spit out faulty data or jeopardize the safety of sensitive personal health data, which they already collect people's data anyway by social media. People post up their pictures and people tell everything that they're gonna do through a post. I'm going here, I'm going to Italy, or I have this sickness, or eating this type of herb helped me get rid of this sickness, or my daughter's graduation, or this is my personal journal for today, or this is what I went through today. So people are just willingly putting up their information, putting up their data on social media, and plus they're collecting people's data through these apps. Driving the news, Kennedy said he'd like to see every American using wearables within the next 4 years, while testifying before the House in late June. So, yeah, that's the gist of it. It says on inspiring Americans to stop eating ultra-processed foods and reclaim control of their health, in which they control the food that's being shared to the people. Because especially in the cities, you can't really grow your own food, so they're responsible for the food that's being brought to these supermarkets and delis and all that. So why not just stop making these ultra processed foods? But they do everything for a reason. So let me go to the scripture for this one. Second, I think 2:11. Yes, 2 Corinthians chapter 2 and verse 11. Lest Satan should get an advantage of us, for we are not ignorant of his devices. First and foremost, you have the spiritual demon, Satan, the actual demon, Satan, right? He's on the left hand side of the Most High, and he does evil. He caused mischief in the earth, right? And Satan is set up to test the men of the Lord, just like how Satan tested Yahushua after his 40 days and 40 night fast. He was tested by Satan, but the Lord prevailed, because the Lord used our scriptures to defeat Satan. And then after that, the angels are comforted him. So Satan, is used to test the men of the Lord, to test people on earth, period, but especially Israelites that are part of the hopeful elect. Brothers go through some things that the average person, would not be able to go through. Especially being attacked by demons and like strange things happening to you out of nowhere. Lest Satan should get an advantage of us, for we are not ignorant of his devices. Yeah, and you could apply this scripture to the so-called white man, because Satan, the so-called white man on earth, which is Esau of the nation of Edom, the Edomites, starting with their elites and going on down to these world rulers. For example, DJ Trump, in the world government, the world governments are controlled by Edomites. if not directly, if not a prime minister or a president of a certain country isn't an Edomite, then behind the scenes it's controlled by an Edomite, especially especially a small hat. So Satan on earth represents a so-called white man because this world is being ruled in wickedness. You know, they're pushing the alphabet agenda. You know, they have food out there that's making you sick and is making you die early from all type of sicknesses. You know, they you know they have the people oppressed under heavy loads of taxes, heavy loads of taxes and low wages. So Satan on earth represents the so-called white man. You know, he's ruling the world in wickedness. And then he spreads, you know, demons. He spreads demons on people by using the media and through music. So this is Satan. RFK is an Edomite. Donald Trump is an Edomite. So they represent Satan on earth. Lest Satan should get an advantage of us, for we are not ignorant of his devices. So he or they, the Edomites, they don't have the upper hand, you know, of us. They don't have the one up on us, and they can't take advantage because we are not ignorant. Ignorant meaning not to know. You know, when you're ignorant of something, that means you don't know it. The word ignorant literally means, you know, not know. You don't know something. So we know of his devices, and his main device or plans or evil thought is to have his agendas come through, which he wants. You know, the main agenda is to have everyone have a RFID CHIP in them, and when that's done, you know, now they can have full control of you because they could track you. And you know, without that, you know, since they're making everything digital, you can't pay with paper dollar anymore. They want to make everything to where you need that RFID CHIP to buy or sell. And you need the RFID CHIP to show who you are, because it's going to have all your health and medical records. It's going to have your ID on it. They're going to get rid of the passports and actual, you know, physical cards, you know, as forms of ID. And they're going to have it to where all you need to do is just scan your CHIP to buy and sell, which is a major one, and to show proof of ID. Which there's many more, because this, you know, they come from many angles. You know, they want to get rid of physical money, no more debit or credit cards. They're coming from the health angle, to which, hey, you know, put on this wearable device, whether a ring or, you know, Apple Watch is one of them, to where, you know, you could track your health, your blood pressure, your heartbeat, so you could take care of your health better. And it's not just one angle they're gonna come with this MOTB. They're gonna come from many angles. So without that RFID CHIP, you won't be able to survive or, you know, go through the society. Let me go to this right here. Iron. Never trust. This is Ecclesiastes. I'm sorry, Ecclesiasticus or Sirach, chapter 12 and verse 10. This is in the Apocrypha. It says, "Never trust thine enemy, for like as iron rusteth, so is his wickedness." So, of course, the enemy of the Israelites, these so-called Negroes, Latinos, and Native Americans, is a so-called white man. And right now, he's definitely showing that he's the enemy towards the northern kingdom of Israel, which is the so-called Negroes. The so-called Latinos and Native Americans. He's heavily deporting Latinos as actually legal citizens and bringing them to El Salvadoran concentration camps, and also he's bringing them on military planes, and he's dumping these people off in the middle of the ocean, and they're washing up on shores. So he's definitely showing his hate. Never trust thine enemy, for like as iron rusteth, so is his wickedness. So we have iron, right? If you don't maintain a metal, like iron, over time it starts to oxidize, and that's called rust. And when it rusts, that weakens the metal. But it's always gonna rust. Certain metals like iron, it's always gonna go into rust if you don't take care of it, no matter what. But unlike metals like gold, I believe gold doesn't rust. Never trust thine enemy, for like as iron rusteth, so is his wickedness. So no matter how nice and how so-called peaceful the so-called white man has been towards our people, he still has that hate towards our people. And now he's definitely showing it, because with this I think it's called Big Beautiful Bill 5150. Let me see before I end the lesson. With this, he's cutting back SNAP, which is food stamp. He's cutting back Medicaid, and that's going to affect a lot of U.S. citizens, but mainly the people that can't afford to pay out of pocket, which he's really targeting, a class of people. They want to get rid of the middle class and the lower middle class and the poor people, but mainly they're targeting our people, the Israelites, the so-called Negroes, Latinos, and Native Americans. A lot of our people depend on Medicaid. They depend on SNAP, the subsidized housing. It's gonna affect all of that. Let me type it up. Big Beautiful Bill. Big Beautiful Bill summary. In which he wants to save money. Let me go into it. This is from BBC News. What are the key items in Trump's sprawling budget bill? So it's a budget bill. U.S. President Donald Trump's budget mega bill is set to become law after it passes a final vote in the House of Representatives, in which I think it already passed. No, this is updated 7 hours. Let me see. Hold on. Congress passes Trump's spending bill after days of debate and delay. So yes, they already passed it, but I think they're like making revisions. They're revising it, but this is gonna affect millions of American citizens, millions of people that live here. Period. So the president is now poised to sign the bill. Yada yada yada. So all right, it says the Congressional Budget Office estimates the bill could add $3.3 trillion to federal deficit over the next 10 years and leave millions without health coverage. So if you don't have health coverage, then your health is gonna go down. And some people are in like serious need of the Medicaid, and also I think the Medicare, and it's gonna affect Social Security as well. So they doing all that to like cut and like add to their budget so they could so-called save money. But it's gonna leave a lot of people it's gonna leave a lot of people sick, and then a lot of people are gonna die. Cause what about the hospital bills? What about the senior citizens? For like accessoride. A lot of people, take or need accessoride. So this is going to affect millions of people. Let me see and go down to it. So some of the key ones, right? It says steep cuts to Medicaid. The healthcare program relied upon by millions of disabled. Disabled means you're not able-bodied. You can't do much for yourself. Your lack of ability, especially like motion people in wheelchair, they can't move on their own. People with extremely wild disabilities, they can't talk. They need someone to take care of them. With that Medicaid cut or healthcare cut, is gonna affect them. One of the changes, yada yada yada. There are also lower provider taxes, which states use to help fund their share of Medicaid costs from 6% to 3.5% by 2032. So they're doing a complete cut of it. So cuts and add $50 billion rural hospital fund. The Senate bill also proposes tightening eligibility requirements so that able-bodied adults with children age 15 and over would need to work or volunteer at least 80 hours a month. Okay, so yeah, this is really, really bad. So it says nearly 12 million Americans could lose their health coverage by the end of the next decade as a result of these changes. So a lot of people are going to lose their lives because of this. Because I've seen like personally that a lot of people rely on the healthcare, on Medicaid and Medicare. But it says Medicaid. It didn't say anything about Medicare, which is for senior citizens, older people. Social Security taxes. Oh boy, look at this. Trump vowed to eliminate taxes on Social Security income. Monthly payments to Americans of retirement age and people with disabilities. Okay, but it's still pretty bad. Increasing state and local tax deduction. Cut to food benefits. Okay, so they're doing all these cuts, right? So what about all the millions that they send to Israel? What about all the They send millions of possibly billions of dollars to Israel every year. They're funding different skirmishes and battles that's going on right now. They were helping Poland with dealing with Russia, and they were sending Poland like millions of dollars, while the people here, during the hurricane season last year, they were getting like a couple $100 in checks each family, but they were sending millions of dollars, overseas to these foreign people. And this is the same thing that happened in ancient Rome. They spread themselves too thin. The empire got big, and they spread themselves. So after a while, they couldn't have control over the empire, because they would have problems going on at home base, in Rome, Italy, and they would have to worry about the uprisings, from the people, in the other countries that they had control of, in their empire. And plus, back then in the Roman Empire too, they had what do you call it, when the value of the money goes down? Yeah, basically the value of their money also went down. Oh yeah, they experience a form of inflation and hyperinflation too, which is what's going on right now, because the value of the dollar is so low right now, and it's about to go, because these countries are not these countries are getting rid of the dollar, which is the petrodollar, and they're switching over to BRICS. They're switching over to another form of currency. So, yeah, this is just bad. It says boost to defense and border spending. The U.S. military will receive a budget increase of $150 billion under the bill. So, it's bad. Clean energy incentives reduction. So this is it right here. Total savings over 10 years. Medicaid, $930 billion. Green energy, $488 billion. Food benefits, which is like SNAP, $287 billion. Why not just cut their why not just cut the funding that they have for war? But that made too much sense. But this is all prophecy, because this place has to go down by many ways. And that's the end of the lesson. Lord will is edifying. All praises, honor, and glory goes to Yahweh Ba'asham Yahushai Ba'asham HaKadosh. Double honors to the apostles and elders of Great Millstone. Shalom.